Yes.
Alderman Police?
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Cadalla?
Yes.
Alderman Winger?
Yes.
Alderman Coles?
Yes.
Alderman R. Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Shockey?
Yes.
That's approved. Items 1 and 3 will be taking up under other business. That brings us to committee chairman reports, planning, zoning, and building. Alderman Cadella.
No report.
Public Health, Safety, and Judiciary. Alderman Shockey.
No report.
Public Works. Alderman Wesley.
I'd like to make the motion to approve 2009 brush branch chipper for Alex Equipment Corporation in amount not to exceed $39,195. Be advised that this is a budget item.
Is there a second?
Second. Second.
On the question? Alderman Shockey.
A couple of questions, if I may. Number one, the previous Director of Public Works told us that he asked us if we could buy another type of machine to replace the chipper, and I don't remember the name of it that he called it. I'm just trying to remember if we gave him approval to buy that other piece of equipment that supposedly would do the same job. Does anybody remember that?
I think
Alderman
it was
Lewitton?
the stumper, because the stumper takes the big part of the tree, and so it could certainly chip this part of the, smaller branches. Roy, is that right?
Alderman Roy Wesley.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean about what it does, because you work for the Forest Preserve. A stumper can do chipper work, right?
No, it's a stump grinder.
No, that is separate.
Something
It was-
different.
I thought it was something else, but I did not have time to go back at the computer and look at the meetings and find it. I would just like to say that I will vote for this on the condition, if I can call it a condition, that we stop the contract we have with the outside source for 90 grand a year as soon as we legally can, which has about a year left on it. If we can agree that we're going to be dropping them and having in-house do it from that point on, I will vote for the chipper at this time.
Unfortunately, you can't make a motion, and that subject matter is not on the agenda tonight, so we cannot make a decision on that. You can certainly state your opinion, which I think you just did, but we can't take action on that.
Thank you.
Can he
Alderman Lewitton.
make that as not as a motion, but can he make a recommendation that come up under a committee in the future?
It can be added to a future committee agenda, yes.
Then could we have staff bring it up when that contract is due for renewal?
Mr. Douthwaite.
Alderman Chalky and I have discussed that earlier this week, and he's made his opinion known, and it's been duly noted, and when it comes up for renewal, before we renew it, we will bring it back to the city council. I expect that's going to be in the fall of next year, if I'm not mistaken, Alderman Chalky.
Thank you.
Alderman, please.
I believe we have one more year left on that contract, but I believe we also have an option to opt out of that contract if we feel that it's not working out to our best interest. So
After the second year.
Right, so I think we should look at it at the end of the season if we feel it's not in our best interest.
If I may.
And not wait another year.
Staff will review that, yes. Alderman
Okay,
Shockey.
if I may, one of the reasons for that is because I've had a number of people tell me that the city doesn't look as nice as it used to because brush is put out front and sits there sometimes for 3 or 4 weeks before it's picked up. People really don't understand it's the last week of the month, and I think most people prefer to have it the same week as the ward number as we used to. That seems to be more familiar to them, and they're complaining that it's sitting around at this point. So that's one of the reasons I'd like to have that contract stopped at when we can. Thank you.
Anything further? Roll call.
Alderman Lewitton?
Yes.
Alderman Police?
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Cadalla?
Yes.
Alderman Winger?
Yes.
Alderman Coles?
Yes.
Alderman R. Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Shockey.
Yes.
That passes.
That ends my report, Mayor.
I do have a question which just occurred to me 5 minutes ago. There was a second motion that came out of your committee which didn't make it to the agenda. Does staff have the direction they need on that other issue, or does that need to come forward at a future date regarding eliminating one position from the budget, or not filling one position that's in the budget?
We've got direction from last week.
Very good. Although committees make recommendations and not decisions.
Then you probably ought to ratify the recommendation you made last week, although, I mean, given the fact that we've got clear direction, I'll tell you that we're not going to go ahead and fill that position. That's essentially a done issue.
Yeah. Mr. Bond?
My suggestion would be just to put it under a future agenda just for purposes as the city manager indicated for ratification. So there's a public record of that direction, and obviously staff has heard the direction the council's given them in the committee, but that would
Not
make it
to-
official.
Not to committee, right to council, right?
At the next council meeting, if we could add that to the agenda. Does that conclude your report?
That's my report, Mayor.
Finance Administration, Alderman Winger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There is one item staff brought forward regarding the Prairie Fest and possibly doing banners as advertisement for the fest. And I do agree with doing the banners, that especially since this year we're trying to focus on drawing as many people and as much sales as possible to help pay for the festival. And I know that you can't draw a lot of people if you don't do some advertising. So I do feel that this is important. And I will go ahead and make the motion for there were three options presented. One is with 40 banners at a cost of $8,300. There's 20 banners for $4,150, or no banners. And they will have the patch over them to cover the dates, so we can change out the dates each year. So we will be able to reuse these. And I'll make the motion at the 40 banners. So I make a motion to allow staff to purchase 40 banners for the cost of not to exceed $8,300.
Is there a second
Second.
on the question? Alderman Shockey.
I just, because of the lack of sponsorship so far, I just think we should, I like the idea of the banners, and especially being able to change the date, but I'd like to see us get 20 banners, which would be sufficient for the middle of town, both on Irving and Wooddale Road. So I'm going to vote against the 40, but I would like the 20.
Alderman Cadella.
That's pretty much what I was just going to say. I'm a little concerned about the lack of sponsorship, and two schools of thought, more banners might help more, but I'm kind of wondering how much it's going to make a difference. I do want to try them, and I don't know, we won't have a baseline to know how well they're working, be it 0, 20, or 40, but I will certainly be in favor of 20.
Mr. Murmas?
Yeah, I'll take a page out of Lakota's presentation. I think this was like the mid-max mode thing here. And 20 banners will get you the whole downtown area, and 40 was kind of the max of stretching out past Wooddale and Irving. So 20 would cover, you know, that main intersection. And of course, 0 wouldn't cover anything.
Alderman Wesley?
One question. I have no problem doing this. My whole concern is, how long is it going to take to get here? Okay, to get them made and patched, and how long is it going to take to get them up, and who's putting them up?
I talked to Public Works Director John Kramer, and we're going to put them up internally. It's a cost savings. The company did price out putting them up, but in discussion with him, he wanted to put them up internally. And as soon as we get them, we can put them up. We had an original install date of June 22nd, and we got this quote like a week ago. So, I mean, we're going to get them quick, and we'll get them up quick. I mean, they'll be up within 2 weeks.
We'll get them up quick enough to advertise. That's the only problem I have. 2 months away here.
No,
I mean,
we'll get them up quick.
okay. I'm I'm sorry, are we going to rescind that motion or change that
At
motion?
this point, you
to
can
20?
proceed with the original motion and vote it up or down, or the movant and the seconder can agree to it being amended.
I'm leaning to amend to the 20.
Seconder agree?
I agree.
Anything further? Roll call.
Alderman Lewis.
Yes.
Alderman Police,
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Cadella,
Yes.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman Coles,
Yes.
Alderman R. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Shockey.
Yes.
And I didn't state it, but I'll take that amendment as a motion to approve 20 banners at a cost not to exceed $4,150. And that brings us to other business. The first item, I'm going to take items out of order. I'm going to go with item 3 as the first item. May I have a motion to approve ComEd to install a new street light, 275 Welcher Drive, for an amount not to exceed $7,664. Is there such a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion fails.
May we still have discussion, quick discussion?
Actually, the motion failed, and there is no motion pending. You could have had it on the motion, but now it is too late. I know where you're going with this, but no, that's too late at this point.
Can we put it back on the
Now,
agenda?
certainly on Public Works at a future agenda, if you want to look at the option of a new
Solar
and improved
lights.
street lighting program, Alderman Wesley, will you add that to your agenda?
Sure, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the item 1, a letter of credit reduction for Ethan Woods. On this item, I have an economic interest in partial ownership of Lot 12. So as I have in the past, I recuse myself from any participation in this matter. So Alderman Shockey, if you would take over the chair, and let me know when you're done.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In my thinking, we have two options here, or actually three. Number one is to give back $543,534.70 to reduce the letter of credit from $676,660.90 down to $133,126.20. The second option, I think, would be to reduce the letter of credit by perhaps one half, rather than giving them that full amount. And I say that because I walked that area, and I don't think that $133,000 is going to cover the items that are on this agenda, or on this list that they're talking about. For instance, they're talking about lights. There's supposed to be 3 lights, and hold on, let me find it. Sodding. Well, first of all, sodding. They're talking about $3,000 only for sodding. They're talking about the parkway all the way around the whole Ethan Woods. And they're, I guess, multiplying that, from what I understand, by $1.40 or something. I don't think that's going to cover that type of thing. And by the way, it is all weeds now. And when they did the initial work, they dug up some front parcels and did not replace them that are not part of the project. There's houses actually on both sides of the street, east and west, where they dug up the ground and they just left it. They threw some seed supposedly, but it's all weeds. And the people who live there are older people who don't have the means or the physical ability to fix that property. That should have been done immediately when they finished digging whatever they had to dig. But the whole area is very tall weeds, and I don't think that's going to cover it at all. The street lights, they're talking about $6,000 cost, and the amount remaining is $6,000. They don't even have the wiring in. I mean, we were looking at the wiring for the sculptures and what the cost is, and here we're running light lines, electrical lines, all through Ethan Woods to get to the 3 lights, and they don't even have lines put in, or they don't have the mounting concrete to put the lights in, and they're not counting the cost of the lights of about $8,000 each. That's just a small part of it. If you take a look at that area, I understand that fountain, the retention pond was supposed to have a fountain. There's no piping into that retention pond for a fountain. That's going to cost a good bit of money. By the way, that other retention pond on the north side of it was supposed to flow into this retention pond, and that was never done. They were supposed to have a connection between the two. They never did. So there's an awful lot of work here that needs to be done before we can give that much money back. Now, from what I understand, the contractor, as all contractors are nowadays, are in financial problems. I mean, they need the money. So I would suggest we do one of two things. Either half the amount of money to $333,000 to give back on the letter of credit and keep about $400,000 or so, or we send this back to committee so that everybody here, up here on the council and in staff can take a closer look at the property and get a better estimate of what it's going to cost to finish it. Because right now, $133,000, I do not believe would cover it. I'm not an engineer, I'm not in that business, but if you look at it, common sense tells you there's nothing done there. So I'll leave it up to somebody else to make the motion whether we should send it back to committee or reduce the letter of credit by just half of what they're asking for. Alderman Wesley.
I just have one question. I'm not in favor of reducing any of this at all, but I have one question. Dave McGrath recommend a letter of accreditation Nathan Woods to be reduction by, all right. My question to Dave, do you just go by their engineer report, or do you actually go out there and look at it? Or do we just get this piece of paper and we sign off on it and let it go? My question here too is, the lift station that's on that property now, it's our job to maintain that lift station. Am I correct? There's a lift station there. We maintain it, but he pays a gas bill. Am I correct? And there was a problem with that situation with the gas company with that situation that came up. My question here is, do you physically go out there and look at this? Or
Dave?
do we just get this letter?
Yeah, I was just going to ask Dave if you can speak up louder, please.
I did go out and look at this. The original, the way back when original inspection and sort of tabulating of what's been done and what hasn't was before my time. There hasn't been a whole lot of work done out there in the last couple of years. There's been some things done. They did some new curb. They did some binder on the street. But most of the underground utility went in before my time. So for those items, I relied on the previous inspection that was done by our consultant at the time. But the rest of it, in terms of what's built and what's not built, I did that walkthrough myself. In terms of the price increases from when this was originally put together, I think that's, part of the reason why we still retain the 10% for the work completed, even though that work's done. That's a pretty sizable amount of money. So that's in there to cover some of those cost increases. And we also added an amount for the increase for asphalt prices because those have been pretty substantial the last couple of years.
Then I'll answer the question. I'll make a motion after that.
Yeah, I would, I think I'm agreeing with
You have
you.
some more
Oh, is there, Mr. Bond, yes.
I would just suggest that a motion be made. There's been discussion. You should have a motion on the
Okay.
table. Either a motion to reduce the letter of credit in a specific amount or a motion to table it to a committee. But either way, in order
I'll
to
let
have
Mr. Wesley, Mr. Eugene Wesley make the
Then I'll
motion.
make the motion, table this until further discussion in the committee, therefore we can answer some other questions on this. That is
I'll
my
second the motion. All in favor?
Roll call.
Alderman Lewitton,
I vote to table it.
Alderman Felice,
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Cadella,
Yes.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman Coles,
Yes.
Alderman R. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Shockey.
Yes. Thank you. I think the mayor can come back for the next item.
I'm sorry, will that be put on the next committee? Thank you.
We could add another 100,000 on this.
Any other business before the city council? Alderman Wesley.
Yes. I don't know where this comes in at. I'd like to talk about a part-time mechanic. What committee does that come under?
Finance. Public Works, you want it under? That'd be Public Works.
Okay. Could we get that on Public Works?
Alderman Wesley?
Yes,
Add
Mayor.
that to a future agenda. It sounds
No
like you're going to
problem.
be busy in the next few weeks.
No problem, Mayor.
And I have one more.
Alderman Wesley.
Could we talk about putting money aside to study all the drainage problems in the city of Wooddale?
I believe there's money, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Public Works. The Finance. Alderman Wesley?
Mr. Mayor, I believe there is money in the capital project this year to do some studies. I mean, it would have to go in the budget process again for a capital project. I mean, I have no problem discussing it, but it's in the CIP right now.
I think the intent, and unless I'll stand corrected by Alderman Roy Wesley, to provide additional funding to resolve some of the small drainage problems, smaller miscellaneous drainage problems we have within the community.
I'll have no
Is that
problem.
the intent?
That's correct, Mayor. Thank
Okay.
you.
Alderman Cadella?
I think I have another one for Alderman Wesley's committee.
All right, so we're going to add the additional money for drainage to Public Works, a future Public Works agenda. Okay.
Yes, we'll look into that
Alderman
with Dave.
Cadella.
Mr. Bond spoke about the city being a creature of statute, which in and of itself impose certain limitations on how and where and how not to spend money on private property. Would it be appropriate to discuss this perhaps in Public Works or somewhere else and implement an actual policy so we've got it on our own books as well as in the statute?
Mr. Bond?
It could be, it may be more appropriate for me simply to give you the parameters and then that be adopted by that, as opposed to codifying it in our code, but certainly that could happen.
I do think it'd be very important for all of us to understand what those limitations are and why they're there.
Alderman Winger, were you seeking recognition, or did that get resolved?
It was resolved.
All right. Anything further? We do not need an executive session tonight. There are no items to be referred. There are no items for information only. May I have a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? For the record, at 8:30. All in favor, say aye. Opposed,
Aye.
motion carries.